You might be wondering what made us choose van life. Well, this is how it all started.
In 2018, we took a trip to Iceland where Ben finally caught the travel bug.
Jelaine had already had it for a couple of years and I was just late to the party. At the end of 2018, we decided to try and travel somewhere at least once a quarter.
In September 2019, we took our next international trip to Norway and embarked on a trip of a lifetime.
Little did we know this trip was going to change our lives forever.
We explored as much of Norway as we could in the short amount of time we had there, hitting all of the highlights: Trolltunga, Pulpit Rock, Bolton, and soon headed north to explore the Lofoten Islands and Senja. While in Senja, we had to visit the infamous mountain Segla. Hiking to one of the most photogenic mountains in all of Norway at sunset was one of the highlights of our trip. Once we reached the viewpoint, we snapped a few photos and spoke with a couple of other travelers who were in as much awe of the surrounding beauty as we were. One of them being Theo from the YouTube channel The Indie Projects. At the time, we were unfamiliar with their channel, but that was all about to change. We were doing the usual small talk thing about, oh, what do you do, blah, blah, blah. But when we asked Theo, he gave us an answer we never expected. He replied,
oh, we travel full time, which is something Jelaine and I had never heard of. We were like, travel full time? That's a thing? Like, you can do that? And he said, yeah, we're YouTubers and we travel full time in our van.
This one conversation changed our entire outlook on life and sowed the seed for what we wanted to pursue.
From that point forward, we kept thinking, how can we travel full time too? Oh, and while we were in the Lofoten Islands, we got engaged on top of Offersoykamen at sunset. We didn't tell our parents until Christmas though, which they weren't really thrilled about, but that's another story. After returning to the States, we looked them up on YouTube and started consuming their van life content. We continued to dream of traveling full-time, possibly even pursuing van life, and started saving our money. All of the traveling was great until COVID hit in March 2020 and canceled our trip to Alaska for the second time. The first time we had to cancel our trip to Alaska, Jelaine broke her back in a climbing accident in January 2019. Since we had been quarantining and not able to travel like we wanted to due to COVID, we decided it was time to take a trip that could be COVID approved. In August of 2020, Jelaine and I took time off of work to go on a week-long rock climbing trip. We converted Jelaine's Kia into a place that we could sleep, keep our clothes, food, and our climbing gear. We would cook our meals outside and sleep inside on a full mattress that we put in the back. After this trip, we were 100% sold on car camping, and this made us want a van even more for an adventure vehicle. Another trip, another life-changing moment.
We had already been saving money from the year previous so we could start traveling more, but instead, we decided to buy a van at the end of August 2020. At the time, we had hopes of having the van completely built out and road ready by January 1st, 2022, so we could start traveling with our 2 dogs. After working on the van every weekend for the next 7 months, we realized we may never actually leave because it was taking us so long. After a bit of discussion and lots of anxiety, we decided to quit our steady 9-to-5 jobs the first week of June so we could actually finish our van.
All right, today's the day. Jelaine and I are both turning our notices in at work. It's about 6 months earlier than we had originally planned, but we realized that just working nights and weekends on the van, that we're never actually going to finish it. So we're both super nervous and excited at the same time and ready to get on with future endeavors. Wish us luck.
Once we quit our jobs, we worked on the van nonstop for 12 to 16 hours a day for the next 4 months. In between that time, we took a celebratory trip back to Iceland and explored the country in a Suzuki Jimny with a rooftop tent. We loved the freedom of being able to wake up wherever we wanted to and made us look forward to van life that much more. At the end of July, we unexpectedly had to put Jaws, the oldest of our dogs, down. It was truly heartbreaking as he was our first baby and it was one of the hardest things we've ever had to do. The dreams we had of traveling with both of our dogs also died that day.
The build took way longer than expected, but we learned a lot along the way. We knew we could have done it quicker, but we wanted something that we were comfortable in since this was going to be our home and we'd be living in it full time. There were plenty of struggles, many mistakes were made, and tensions were high throughout a lot of the build, but after 13 months, we were finally finished.
We embarked on our maiden voyage on October 4th, 2021 with our dog Gabby. We left North Carolina and went up to New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine to catch the beautiful fall foliage, slowly chasing it back down south all the way to Georgia and eventually back to North Carolina to spend the holidays with our families.
Thanks for joining us in part 1 of this mini-series. If you're interested in our van build journey, click into this playlist, or if you're lazy like I am, just watch our time lapse. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, or consider subscribing if you haven't already. It really helps the channel. We're Ben and Jelaine with Nomadic Visuals, and we'll see you next week.